Dad perfect events. I came home early. From the hospital to find my business partner. Celebrating. But my wife was crying. I never thought I'd be telling this story, but here we are. My name is Victor Pierce, I'm 58, and I've been running an auto repair shop for the past 25 years with my business partner, Marcus Wellington. Well, I thought he was my partner. The day everything changed started like any other Wednesday morning. I was driving to work, thinking about the new hydraulic lift we'd been saving up for, as when some kid running a red light slammed into my truck. Next thing I knew, I was waking up in the hospital with Linda, my wife of 32 years, holding my hand and telling me I'd been out for 3 days with a concussion. The doctor said I needed at least 2 weeks of rest before I could even think about going back to work. No lifting, no stress, no nothing. Marcus came by the hospital the first day, all concerned and friendly, telling me not to worry about the shop. "Focus on getting better, Vic," he said. "I've got everything under control." I should have known something was wrong when he stopped visiting after day 2. Linda drove me home from the hospital on a Friday afternoon. My head was still fuzzy, and I kept forgetting things the doctor said were normal after a concussion. All I wanted was to sit in my recliner and maybe catch up on some paperwork from the shop. Marcus had promised to bring by the weekly reports, but when we pulled into our driveway, I saw Marcus's BMW parked in front of our house. That was odd. He never came by the house. Through our front window, I could see him sitting at our kitchen table with some guy in a suit I didn't recognize. They were laughing about something, drinks in their hands like they were celebrating. "That's strange," Linda said, parking the car. Marcus called this morning and said he needed to discuss something important with us. I was still moving slow from the accident, so Linda got to the front door first. When she opened it, I heard Marcus's voice loud and clear. "Don't worry about Victor. The old man's brain is scrambled from the accident. He won't remember signing anything, and even if he does, who's going to believe him?" Linda froze in the doorway. I came up behind her just in time to see Marcus and the suit guy toasting with beer bottles. There were papers spread all over my kitchen table, legal documents with official-looking seals. "Marcus?" I called out, my voice still weak from the hospital stay. Both men turned around, and I'll never forget the look on Marcus's face. For just a split second, pure guilt flashed across his features before he put on that fake smile I'd somehow never noticed before. "Vic, buddy? You're home early," he said, quickly gathering up the papers. We were just discussing some routine business stuff. The guy in the suit, turned out his name was David Collins, and he claimed to be a business appraiser, stood up and shook my hand a little too enthusiastically. "Mr. Pierce, good to meet you. Marcus has told me so much about your situation." "My situation?" I looked at Linda, who had gone pale. She was staring at the papers Marcus was stuffing into a briefcase. "What kind of business stuff?" I asked, my head starting to pound again. Marcus exchanged a quick look with Collins. "Nothing for you to worry about right now, partner. Just some insurance paperwork after your accident. Routine stuff to protect the business." But Linda wasn't buying it. My wife's been doing bookkeeping for small businesses for 20 years, and she knows legal documents when she sees them. "Marcus, those look like transfer papers. What's going on?" "Mrs. Pierce, your husband suffered a serious head injury," Collins jumped in. "We're just making sure all his business interests are properly protected while he recovers." That's when it hit me. The way Marcus had been so insistent about handling everything. The way he'd stopped visiting. The celebrating I'd just witnessed. "Protected from what?" I asked. Marcus put his hand on my shoulder in that condescending way I was starting to hate. "Vic, you're not thinking clearly right now. The doctor said you might be confused for a while. We're just taking care of things until you're back to 100%. "Show me the papers," I said. "Victor, you need to rest. Show me the damn papers, Marcus." Collins cleared his throat. "Actually, the documents have already been filed with the county. Everything's official now." "Filed? Official?" My heart started racing, which made my head pound worse. "What documents?" Marcus finally came clean, sort of. "Look, Vic, while you were in the hospital, there were some business decisions that couldn't wait. Time-sensitive stuff. I had to make some moves to protect our investment." Linda stepped forward. "Marcus Wellington, you better start explaining what you've done. Or, I'm calling our lawyer right now." That's when Collins pulled out his phone and showed us photos of documents, transfer of ownership papers, signed with my name, dated while I was unconscious in the hospital. As you can see, Mr. Pierce properly transferred his share of Wellington Auto Repair to Mr. Wellington here. Very generous, considering the circumstances. My legs almost gave out. Wellington Auto Repair? For 25 years it had been Pierce and Wellington Auto. Now it was just Wellington? You forged my signature, I whispered. Marcus had the nerve to look offended. Vic, you signed these yourself. You just don't remember because of the concussion. I brought them to the hospital on Thursday morning, and you were lucid enough to sign. Ask the nurse if you want. But I knew I'd been completely out of it Thursday morning. Linda confirmed it. She'd been there the whole time, and I hadn't signed anything. That's a lie, Linda said, her voice shaking with anger. Victor was barely conscious Thursday. He couldn't even remember my name half the time. Collins put his phone away and straightened his tie. Memory issues are common. With head trauma, Mrs. Pierce. Your husband may not recall the signing, but the documents are legally binding. After Marcus and Collins left, promising to check on me soon, Linda and I sat in our kitchen, trying to make sense of what had just happened. My life's work, the business I'd built from nothing, was gone. Just like that. We need to call Ryan, Linda said, referring to our son who was a lawyer in the next town over. Ryan's going to think his old man lost his mind, I said, holding my aching head. Victor Pierce, you listen to me, Linda said in that voice she used when she meant business. I've been married to you for 32 years. I know when you're thinking clearly and when you're not. You are sharp as a tack, concussion, or no concussion. Marcus Wellington is trying to steal everything you've worked for. Ryan drove over that evening. Our son's a good lawyer, but he's always been a skeptical kid. At 32, he's made his own way in the world, and sometimes I think he sees me as just another aging blue-collar guy who doesn't understand modern business. I told him everything while Linda brought out the business files she'd been keeping at home. Ryan listened without saying much, taking notes in that legal pad way lawyers do. Dad, I have to ask, are you sure you didn't sign anything in the hospital? Head injuries can cause memory gaps. I wanted to be mad at him for doubting me, but I understood. Son, I was unconscious for 3 days and barely awake for the next 2. Your mother was there the whole time. When exactly was I supposed to sign over my life's work? Ryan looked at Linda, who nodded firmly. Your father didn't sign anything? I never left his side except to go to the bathroom, and Marcus never came by with any papers. That's when Ryan's attitude changed. He put down his pen and looked at me differently, not as his confused father, but as a client who'd been wronged. Okay, then we have a problem, and we're going to fix it. Over the next few days, Ryan explained our options. We could challenge the signatures in court, but Marcus had been smart. He'd waited until I was vulnerable, created a situation where it was my word against his, and had an expert witness ready to testify about my mental state. We need proof, Ryan said. Real evidence that Marcus forged your signature and planned this while you were in the hospital. How are we supposed to get that? I asked. Ryan smiled in a way that reminded me he was my son after all. Leave that to me. Meanwhile, I started noticing things around town that made my blood boil. Marcus was already making changes to the shop. He'd hired his nephew to work the front desk, a kid who didn't know a spark plug from a radiator cap. Some of our longtime customers were asking me what was going on, why my name was suddenly off the building. Health issues, I'd tell them, not wanting to get into the whole mess. But inside, I was burning up. The worst part was driving by the shop every day and seeing what Marcus was doing to the place. New paint job, flashy sign, and he jacked up the prices on everything. Mrs. Henderson, who'd been bringing her car to us for 15 years, told me she couldn't afford Marcus's new rates. He said it was necessary for modernization, she said sadly. But Victor, you never charge like that. Linda found me one evening sitting in my truck outside the shop, just staring at what used to be mine. She got in the passenger seat without saying a word. I built that place from nothing, I said finally. Started with just me and a couple of basic tools in that back bay. Worked 12-hour days for years just to keep the lights on. I remember, Linda said softly. You'd come home covered in grease, exhausted, but you always said it was worth it because it was ours. Marcus was just the money guy back then. I did all the real work, built the reputation, earned the customer's trust. He handled the books and acted like that made him equal. It wasn't equal, Linda agreed. You were the heart of that business. That's when I realized something. Marcus might have the paperwork, but he didn't have what really mattered. He didn't have the relationships, the knowledge, the respect that I'd spent 25 years earning. The next week, Ryan called Marcus and told him he wanted to discuss representing him in some potential legal issues arising from my accident and the business transfer. He played it like he was worried I might try to cause trouble and wanted to help Marcus protect his interests. Marcus ate it up. He agreed to meet with Ryan at the shop on a Saturday morning when none of the employees would be around. Ryan had me and Linda wait in the parking lot of the diner across the street while he went into the shop wearing a tiny camera Linda had ordered online. The plan was simple: get Marcus talking about what really happened. Just act concerned about Dad's mental state, Ryan had said. Make Marcus feel like he needs to justify what he did. Guys like him love to brag when they think they're safe. It worked better than we'd hoped. Marcus spent an hour bragging to Ryan about how easy it had been to take advantage of my accident. He showed Ryan the forged signature samples he'd practiced. He laughed about how he'd planned this for months, waiting for the right opportunity. He even admitted that Collins wasn't really a business appraiser, but a guy he'd hired to play the part. Your old man trusted me completely, Marcus told Ryan, not knowing he was being recorded. 25 years of friendship, and he never suspected I was keeping track of every mistake he made, every customer complaint, every time he was late or took a long lunch. I built a case that he was becoming unreliable due to his age, and the accident was just the perfect opportunity to execute. From across the street, I watched Ryan nod and take notes, playing the part perfectly. My son was getting everything we needed. The beauty of it, Marcus continued, is that Victor's too proud to admit he might be losing his edge. Makes it easy to paint him as a confused old man who doesn't remember what he signed. Ryan kept Marcus talking for another 30 minutes, getting details about how he'd accessed our business bank accounts, how he'd already lined up buyers for some of our equipment, and how he planned to eventually sell the property for development. This whole area is going to be condos in 5 years, Marcus bragged. I've got developers already sniffing around. Your dad thought small. Fix cars, make enough to get by. I think big. This property's worth 10 times what we paid for it. That hit me like a punch to the gut. Marcus wasn't just stealing my business, he was planning to destroy it completely. All those years of building relationships with customers, of being the honest mechanic they could trust, meant nothing to him. When Ryan walked out of that shop, we had everything we needed. But more than that, I finally understood what kind of person Marcus really was. He hadn't just betrayed me in a moment of weakness. He'd been planning this betrayal for years. Dad, Ryan said when he got back to the truck, you need to hear this recording, but I'm warning you, it's going to make you angry. He was right. Listening to Marcus laugh about taking advantage of my accident, hearing him mock my work ethic and talk about me like I was some senile old fool, it took everything I had not to drive straight back to that shop and confront him. But Linda put her hand on my arm. Victor, we do this the right way. We let the law handle Marcus. Ryan had already called his lawyer friends and lined up a meeting with the district attorney. With this recording and Mom's financial records, we've got him cold. Fraud, forgery, elder abuse. Marcus is looking at serious prison time. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of legal activity. Ryan filed an emergency injunction to freeze all business assets. We got a court order requiring Marcus to stop any major decisions regarding the shop. Most importantly, we got permission to audit all the financial records going back 5 years. That's when we discovered Marcus had been skimming money for years. Small amounts at first, but recently he'd gotten bolder. He'd been billing customers for parts we never ordered, pocketing the difference. He'd been inflating labor charges and keeping the extra. He'd even been claiming business expenses for personal purchases. Dad, this guy's been robbing you blind, Ryan said, showing me printouts of bank statements. We're talking about tens of thousands of dollars over the years. But the worst discovery came when we found Marcus's real plan. Hidden in his computer files were emails with a development company. He'd been negotiating to sell the shop property for months, even before my accident. The whole business was just a stepping stone to a big real estate payday. The lawsuit moved fast once we had all the evidence. Marcus tried to fight it at first, claiming I was mentally incompetent and that Ryan was manipulating me. But when the judge heard the recording, that defense fell apart pretty quickly. Mr. Wellington, the judge said during one hearing, not only did you commit fraud against your business partner, but you did so while he was recovering from a serious injury. This court finds your actions particularly reprehensible. Marcus's lawyer, some expensive guy from the city, tried every trick in the book. They claimed I'd given verbal consent for the transfer. They said Marcus was protecting the business from my declining mental capacity. They even tried to argue that the recording was obtained illegally. None of it worked. Ryan had done his homework, and every piece of evidence was rock solid. The turning point came when Collins, the fake appraiser, got scared and decided to cooperate. Turns out Marcus had promised him a cut of the development money, but when things started falling apart legally, Collins wasn't willing to risk prison for someone else's scheme. Mr. Wellington hired me to pose as a business appraiser, Collins testified. He told me exactly what to say about Mr. Pierce's mental condition. He even coached me on how to make the forged documents look legitimate. Watching Marcus squirm in that courtroom was almost worth everything we'd been through. Almost. The truth was, I just wanted my business back and the chance to rebuild what he'd tried to destroy. The judge's final ruling was swift and decisive. All transfers were declared null and void. Marcus had to return every penny he'd stolen, plus damages. The business reverted to its original ownership structure. With one important change, Ryan was now officially listed as my partner and legal counsel. Mr. Wellington, the judge concluded, your actions represent a fundamental breach of trust and partnership. You are hereby barred from any involvement in Pierce and Wellington Auto Repair, and this court strongly recommends that the district attorney pursue criminal charges. Marcus never looked at me during the sentencing, just stared at his hands while his expensive lawyer whispered damage control strategies that weren't going to help. In the end, Marcus lost not just the shop, but had to pay damages that wiped out his savings. His wife divorced him when the full extent of his fraud came to light. His reputation in our small town was destroyed. Last I heard, he moved 2 states away and was working as a parts clerk at someone else's auto shop. The criminal case took another 6 months to resolve. Marcus pled guilty to multiple felony charges to avoid a trial. He got 2 years probation and had to make full restitution. The judge made it clear that if he violated probation in any way, prison time was waiting. As for me, I got my business back, but more importantly, I got something I hadn't expected. Ryan decided to leave his law firm and come work with me. Not as a mechanic, his hands were never good with tools, but as the business manager and legal counsel. Dad, he told me the day we reopened as Pierce & Son Auto Repair, I spent years thinking your generation didn't understand how complicated modern business could be. Turns out, I didn't understand how complicated trust and loyalty really are. The first few months back were tough. Marcus had driven away some of our best customers with his price gouging and poor service. He'd let maintenance slide on the equipment, and some of our longtime employees had quit when he started treating them badly. But word spreads fast in a small town. When people heard what Marcus had tried to do and how we'd fought back, customers started returning. Mrs. Henderson was our first customer on reopening day, bringing her old Buick in for an oil change. Victor, she said, I knew something wasn't right when Marcus took over. That man never cared about anything but money. You always took care of us. One by one, they came back. The Johnsons with their beat-up pickup that I'd been keeping running for 10 years. The Martinez family with their minivan. Even some new customers who'd heard our story and wanted to support a business that had fought back against fraud. Linda still does our books, but now she works with Ryan on the legal and business side. They've implemented systems Marcus never bothered with. Proper documentation for everything. Digital records, even security cameras throughout the shop. Never again, Ryan said when he installed the cameras. No one's going to be able to pull this kind of scam on us. The shop's doing better than ever now. Ryan's business sense combined with my mechanical knowledge and Linda's financial management has turned us into one of the most successful auto repair operations in the county. We've got that hydraulic lift we wanted, plus 2 more employees and a waiting list of customers. But the real victory isn't financial, it's family. Working with Ryan every day has given us a relationship we never had. When he was growing up, he understands now what it means to build something from nothing, to earn trust one customer at a time. Dad, I used to think your way of doing business was old-fashioned, he told me one evening as we locked up the shop. Now, I realize you were teaching me about integrity before I was smart enough to listen. Sometimes I drive by the apartment complex where Marcus used to live before his wife kicked him out. I don't feel sorry for him. When you spend a quarter-century building someone's trust just to betray them, you deserve whatever consequences come your way. The interesting thing is how the whole experience changed my perspective on business partnerships. Ryan and I have a detailed partnership agreement now. Everything in writing, clear procedures for major decisions, regular audits. But more than that, we talk, really talk, about goals, concerns, problems before they become crises. Trust but verify, Ryan says, borrowing from an old president. It's become our motto. We've also started mentoring other small business owners who've had partnership problems. You'd be surprised how common it is. Family members stealing from family businesses, partners taking advantage of each other, employees embezzling from trusting bosses. The key, I tell them, is documentation and accountability, and never be afraid to ask hard questions when something doesn't feel right. 6 months after we reopened, I got a call from Marcus. He was crying, asking for forgiveness, claiming he was broke and desperate. He wanted to know if there was any way he could come back, maybe as just an employee. I listened to him for about 2 minutes, then hung up. Linda asked me if I felt bad for him. Honey, I said, I feel bad that it took 25 years for me to see who he really was. But I don't feel bad about the consequences of his choices. Ryan overheard and nodded approvingly. Some bridges you burn, and some bridges burn themselves. The best revenge isn't getting. It's building something better than what they tried to take from you. And that's exactly what my family and I did. These days, when young entrepreneurs ask me for advice about business partnerships, I always tell them the same thing. Character matters more than capital, documentation protects everyone, and family loyalty is worth more than any business deal. Our shop wall has a new sign now, right next to the Customer Service Awards and Better Business Bureau certificate. It's a quote Linda found. Trust is earned in drops and lost in buckets. Every morning when I unlock the shop, I read that sign and remember how close I came to losing everything to someone I trusted completely. Now I trust differently, smarter, with boundaries and verification. But I still trust, because a business without trust isn't really a business at all. Marcus thought he was taking advantage of some old guy who wouldn't know how to fight back. He learned the hard way that experience, family, loyalty, and legal preparation can be more powerful than any con game. Sometimes the best lesson you can teach someone is that actions have consequences, and betrayal always comes with a price. Sometimes the people you trust most are the ones watching closest for your moment of weakness. But real strength comes from having family who'll stand with you when everything falls apart. Building something worthwhile takes decades, but protecting it takes vigilance. The difference between a victim and a survivor is being prepared to fight for what's rightfully yours.